Okay, hello everyone. This is the Challenge Cup Preview show. The Challenge Cup gets underway in under 9 days in Maldives, and for those of you who don't know, it is a competition that's going to determine the final spot in the Asian Cup. Participating today with me, I've got Brandon from We Global Football. How are
Hello.
you, Brandon?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. From the Philippines, I have Ryan Phoenix, our resident ASCALs expert.
Hello
How
guys, how are you?
You can reach him at Ryan Phoenix, the Twitter handle for We Global Football, and Brandon is at We Global. And then we have Shane Rashid. He will be telling us what is going on in the Maldives on the ground and be giving us the preview for the Maldives national team. He can be reached at MV Football Team and on the Facebook page for the Maldives football team. So, gentlemen, let's get this started. Let's give our viewers a bit of an idea of what's going on with this competition we're talking about. So, let me just share my screen here, and we've got a brief overview on what we're talking about. So, we've got 8 teams in the Challenge Cup. Maldives qualified as the hosts, and then the 7 other developing nations who made it through the qualifying stages. You've got Afghanistan, Myanmar, Palestine, Laos, Kyrgyzstan, Philippines, Turkmenistan. Just to give you an idea of how this came about, a couple of years ago, in 2006, the Asian Federation decided they needed to have a competition for developing associations, or what they qualify as emerging associations, and include some teams from the developing category. So in 2006, there was a 16-team tournament. It was a friendly tournament. There was nothing at stake. And then after that, they came to the decision that from here on out, the winner of the Challenge Cup will get a seed at the Asian Cup. They played in 2008 and 2010. It was a biennial tournament, and they played the 2012 edition. In those 3 years, the first winner, India, was there in Qatar in 2011, as you can see here. In 2010, hosted in Sri Lanka, Korea DPR won that. And again in 2012, to ensure their ticket to Australia, Korea DPR won that as well. Now what's happening this time around is that Asia has finally come to its senses. It's seen that the World Cup participant from 4 years ago is not a country that needs any help in qualifying for Asia. They will not be participating this year around, so it's all to play for. 20 teams have gone into qualification. We've got our final 8 teams right now. Let's take a look at what happened exactly. So we had 5 groups. Group A, Myanmar was grouped with India, Guam, Chinese Taipei. They were the hosts for that group, and they rode home advantage to qualifying. They needed a result against India in their final game. They got it. They beat them 1-0. Bit of an upset. I think most people thought India would have snuck in there. For Group B, Kyrgyzstan, also the hosts, won all 3 games. It came down to the last game, though, them against Tajikistan, classic Central Asian derby. Kyrgyzstan won, courtesy of a goal from David Tete, who I think we'll hear about a little later from Brandon, a Ghanaian fellow playing his international football for Kyrgyzstan. Group C also saw the hosts go through as the best second-place team. Laos and then Afghanistan put their good road form to use and qualified directly for the tournament. Group D is the only group that saw a non-host nation qualify. Palestine went undefeated, did not give up a goal. Highlight of this was a 9-0 victory. Nepal was on the news for having pretty bad facilities for the participating teams. Palestine participated pretty much with the Group B team. They eked it out at the end. They only needed to draw in their final game against Nepal, and they got that. Group E was blighted by the withdrawal of Brunei. So what ended up happening was every single team in that group was awarded a result. Things shifted around that allowed actually Laos to sneak in as the runner-up. I think Brandon will cover that for us a little bit. But it was all a bit of a formality. Philippines and Turkmenistan were expected to beat Cambodia, and goal difference played the result, along with a 1-0 victory for the Philippines that allowed them to qualify as winners. And then you had Turkmenistan rounding out the groups. So I just want to get a sense of from Brandon over here. What do you think of the qualifying teams? Do you think they really are the 8 best from this group of 20 teams that participated in qualifying, or do you think there are teams that should be here that are unlucky to miss out?
For the most part, the teams that qualified are the teams that we expected to qualify. We actually liked Myanmar to beat India, specifically due to the home advantage. We also like Palestine to win their group. The Philippines and Turkmenistan, we also expected them to qualify. There wasn't too much that we didn't expect to happen based on our rankings. A little bit surprising, I guess. Tajikistan's probably one of the best, if not the best teams in qualifying, but they were put at a disadvantage having to go to Kyrgyzstan. So they're the one team that I would say missed out on the tournament that probably deserved to be there.
Okay, and let's get Shane's input here. Shane, Maldives, they're the first actual participant at a Challenge Cup final that didn't actually have to qualify. Do you think they're up for this tournament, or do you think they're a little underprepared?
Well, the preparations didn't get off to a good start because we didn't have a coach, and then once the new coach came in, there was a training camp in Thailand. But I think the home advantage is going to play a lot. Because the last time the Maldives had a tournament back at home, that was in 2008. We had the South Asian Federation Championship, and the final was played in Colombo, Sri Lanka, although all the group matches were in the Maldives. But the Maldives ended up as champions. And then we've been infamous for having a fortress at home, like Korea, after the 2002 World Cup. They came to the Maldives expecting a good thrashing, but they only managed a 0-0 draw. It was all over the news back then. And then even Iran during the 2014 World Cup qualifying, they beat us 4-0 in Tehran, but once they came to the Maldives, it was only 1-0. So once the home crowd is there, the Maldives can put up a strong show. So it will be interesting to see, with the lack of preparations, how the team does.
Okay, and comparing this team to the 2012 version that did qualify for the Challenge Cup, do you think, based on just pure talent, where the team is as a unit, are they stronger or are they weaker than the 2012 vintage of the team?
The 2012 team the Maldives had in the Challenge Cup was a bit in the transition phase, because after the 2008 championship, the players that were there, most of them retired. There was a new generation coming in. So some players didn't have that international experience and exposure, and all of them were playing at home in the Maldives. So they weren't exposed to a competitive league standard also. So it played its factor when we played against stronger and more physically stronger opponents like Palestine and Turkmenistan, who are physically more broad and much more taller than us.
Okay, and so you're feeling pretty confident that with home advantage, with some of the preparations you've finally gotten underway, that you feel pretty confident that you could win this group, or even sneak in as a runner-up.
Yeah, even though the preparations didn't go as planned, I think a lot is depending on the home support. The crowd plays the 12th man, so it's a huge factor when Iran came in. Iran was expecting a comfortable win, and this was for 2014 World Cup qualifying, and they only managed 1-0. And the Maldives at home has always been a strong team. But I think a lot is depending this time on the captain, Ali Ashraf, famously known as Dakande, meaning the man of steel. According to the International Football Federation of Statistics, Dakande was the top national team goal scorer in competitive matches last year, and he had the highest goal scoring record in a competitive tournament like in AFC UEFA. So he's in top form, and he's playing right now in Malaysia, and I think a lot is depending on his performance, and I think the supporters are expecting a lot from him.
Okay, and I want to just have open this up to the panel here. So this is the final edition of the Challenge Cup. Going forward, there's no longer going to be a spot for the Challenge Cup winner at the Asian Cup. There might not even be a Challenge Cup tournament or a tournament dedicated for. Hello? Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, Ryan, can you do you think this is maybe the last and best chance for Philippines to play at an Asian Cup, or do you feel that the expansion to 24 teams, even though that there won't be a slot reserved for emerging and developing associations, do you think that actually improves your chances, or is the mood in the Philippines that this might be a really, really good opportunity that they don't want to let slip through their fingers?
Truth be told, I think this is one chance for the Philippines to be there in the big party with the big boys. Because as far back as maybe 4 years ago, to think of the Philippines as any sort of footballing nation, which is really just, you're going to be thought of as crazy, definitely. Because the Philippines back in 2010 was, the Philippine football back then was really, no one cared. I mean, we just had a good result in the Suzuki Cup, the tournament for Southeast Asian nations in late 2010. That sparked everything. That sparked the revival of football. So to answer your question, I think just now to be mentioned in the same breath as being able and having a chance to go to the Asian Cup, I think it's a dream. And it is a reachable dream as far as mood is concerned in the Philippines. I think there is a quiet optimism that we can make it. The thing is, after this, if this is the last edition, obviously it's not going to be easy, and I think people recognize that. That's why all of the focus now is on trying to qualify to the Asian Cup via this Challenge Cup.
Okay. Brandon, We Global Football does run rankings. So what do you think is going to be the long-term effect of having Asian Cup qualifying and World Cup qualifying folded in together? That should mean more official matches for nations such as these that are participating at the Challenge Cup. Do you think you'll see a spike for some countries just because they'll be able to participate in so many official matches going forward?
I think we will. I think they're, especially because it's going to be 24 teams. Had it been 16 teams, probably not. But there are a lot of teams that are part of the Asian Cup qualification that really aren't that good. And they're just in that qualification based on location or how the AFC has classified those nations. But having 24 teams, we have probably 4 or 5 teams that are in the Challenge Cup now that are ranked in the top 24 in Asia, according to our rankings. So, ultimately, long term, we think it'll be a positive effect.
Okay, so let's continue with our preview of Group A. Shane's told us a little bit about how he thinks the tournament is unfolding for Maldives. There was a bit of a scare there with preparations as far as stadium renovations were concerned. Is everything good to go in the Maldives?
Yeah, initially there were some delays with the kickoff of the renovations of the stadium, especially in the national stadium, the capital Male, and also in Adu City, where the Group B games are going to be played. There were delays for various reasons, which I'm not going to go into detail. But everything's gone smoothly so far. The AFC has been very pleased, and at times there were other nations that were trying to, as an option, trying to host the tournament also. But with the cooperation of all the involving parties like the FAM and the government and the ministries, they've been able to complete the renovations. All the renovations required in the stadiums are complete. So it's all good to go, and AFC are pleased. And recently, the Football Association of Maldives Vice President met the FAM AFC President and he updated him regarding the progress and everything also. And they are willing to give their full cooperation to the Maldives to make this a successful, and memorable event, especially being the last AFC Challenge Cup.
Okay, and so basically the way it's going to work is that one group is going to be based in the capital Male, and then another group is going to be based in Aldu City. But then for the final group games, a set of teams will have to travel to the other city in order for the games to be played simultaneously. So do you think the teams might be at a disadvantage having to travel, or is that a relatively easy trip? And how would you get from one city to another since they are on different islands?
In this case, if you're going to travel from the capital Male to the Addu city, where the Group B games are, you just have to take a domestic plane. So it's not more than 1.5 hours travel. So it's not going to take that much of a toll on the players, and the process of the transfer and everything will hopefully be as smooth as possible. So it's just a matter of settling down as far as accommodation in the hotel. So aside from that, it won't be much of an obstacle for any of the teams.
Okay. So continuing with our teams in Group A, we've got Kyrgyzstan. Surprisingly qualified over Tajikistan. We don't really know much about them. I think the most prominent thing we can say, or the most identifying features, they now have a Ghanaian playing for them, David Tete. Will Tete be in the final squad, Brandon?
Information is scarce, but you have to assume that he'll be there. He actually scored all 3 goals in their qualifying. They won each qualifying match 1-0, and he was the goal scorer in all 3 matches. So, if they want to have any chance of being successful, he's got to be included in the squad. Okay.
And as far as how Kyrgyzstan matches up with the other teams in Group A, do you think they might have an advantage? They seem to have a very physical style of play, and do you think that might come to good use against Myanmar, maybe even against a team like the Maldives?
Against Myanmar, definitely. It should be interesting to see what happens against the Maldives, especially with the home advantage. Had the game been played somewhere else, possibly in Kyrgyzstan, it might be a different story. I wouldn't expect a lot of goals. They don't score a lot of goals. They haven't scored a goal actually in their past 3 matches, and prior to that, they didn't score more than 1 goal in another 7 matches. So I'd expect physical matches, low scoring, but they may pull out a couple more 1-0 victories.
Okay, so their opening game is against Palestine. Where do you see them finishing in this group? Do you think they'll advance, or do you think it might be a short stay in the Maldives before getting on the plane back home?
They probably have about 50-50 chance of advancing, I would say. Maybe a little bit greater than 50-50 of advancing. I wouldn't expect them to finish the top of the group, but I think they'll be, certainly in the mix with Maldives for the 2nd spot.
Okay. Going on to the next team, we've got Myanmar. Definitely use that home field advantage, as you mentioned earlier, to qualify. They're not going to be playing at home. Where do you see them finishing? Do they have a shot, or are they going to be whipping boys? Especially because they did make a coaching change recently.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect much. We have them ranked the lowest in that group by a pretty good margin. We have each other team ranked a full goal ahead of them. There's a possibility that they could advance, but their preparations haven't really been great. They were supposed to have friendly matches in Yangon against Afghanistan and possibly Turkmenistan. Those never came to fruition. So they really haven't done much. They played against a Singapore 11 side. They defeated them 2-1. But I think it would be a long shot for them to advance.
Okay, and then the final team in Group A is Palestine. Fun fact on them, they've actually never lost a Challenge Cup group match. That's in the tournament proper and in qualifying. So if we're previewing them, me as the resident expert on the Palestinian team here, I don't see them dropping points to anyone in this team. I think it will be difficult. Preparations could have gone better. Fans are are a little disappointed that no official friendlies are going to be played in the lead-up. Palestine is now on their way to Sri Lanka to play 2 friendly matches against the national team over there before traveling just a short flight over to the Maldives to get ready for this final tournament. I think as far as the squad they've called up, we've heard of it today, 23 players. Unfortunately, one of the more promising players, an attacker who plays for Islami Qalqilia, will not be there, Samih Maraba. He was detained by the IDF upon returning to Palestine. No reason was given to his detention, and that might weigh on players, hopefully for the better, in order to get their spirits up. I think the one advantage Palestine does have is they always play with that type of spirit. But in this type of tournament, they might need to adjust to being the favorites. The squad they have now, I think, is stronger than the squad they called up 2 years ago. Ramzi Saleh will be in goals, as he was 2 years ago. He'll captain the squad. But I think key is that Abdul Latif Bahdari, who plays now in Iraq and has experience playing in Jordan and Saudi Arabia, will be leading the defense. Next to him, Ottawa Fury's Omar Jaroun might get a start. He was a surprise inclusion since he wasn't included in any squad for a period of 18 months. And then you have good center backs on the bench. You have guys like Haytham Deeb and Khalid Mahdi who have proved themselves over time. Left back is a bit of an issue because Alexis Norambuena will not be released by his club in Poland. But you have a great attacking right back in Hussam Abu Saleh. You've got great covering midfielders in Khadr Youssef and Murad Ismail. Striker is going to be a bit of a problem, but you would feel that the pace of at Vitaberg's Ahmad Satara and, of course, Ashraf Norman, who's been on fire ever since Jamal Mahmoud took this position, should mean that they qualify with relative ease. Now, I think playing Maldives is not going to be easy. Kyrgyzstan is going to be a stern test in the first game. They've been Palestine's bogey team. We've never been able to beat them. But I fancy them finishing top of this group, although there might be a couple of hiccups on the way. Looking over to Group B, we've got Ryan here. So tell us, it seems like the Azkals have been busy beavers over the past couple of months. You've been playing a lot of friendlies. You got a new coach, former U.S. national team captain Thomas Dooley. How are things going with the Philippines preparation?
Yeah, so where do we begin? As you said, it's been a busy few months for Coach Thomas Dooley. I think first things first, the stacking of Coach Weiss, the German coach, which led us to the semifinals of the Suzuki Cup in 2012, caught some of us by surprise because we thought, he was actually given a boost of confidence, and it was really just 5 months until the Challenge Cup. So when he was sacked, it was a surprising thing for most fans. But now we see the logic behind it. I think Thomas Dooley now, he's instilling a different kind of play, different style of play, and giving people, new people, chances to be in that Azkals setup. Proof is that now in the 23-man roster that was released just the other day, 16 of them out of the 23 are playing in the local league. This is a development because in the previous coach, you probably won't see that. You probably see a lot of European-based players who are applying their trade in Europe. They'll be brought in to the Azkals setup, but not now. And speaking of the European-based players, I think that's one thing that has led to the Azkals' rise in the last few years, is because of people who with a mixed Filipino and European blood. There's a big misconception that these are naturalized players. They are not. They are actually born with a Filipino mother or a Filipino father, married to a foreign spouse. So these are actually not naturalized players, but Filipino players mixed by virtue of one of their parents being Filipino. Now, one of the main player, I think, for us is Eintracht Frankfurt's Stefan Schramm. The schedule of the Challenge Cup, which is going to be held on May, I think it's very crucial because it was moved actually to May from an earlier date. The earlier date being not qualifying now people like Strack and all the others from playing because of their commitments to their club in Europe. Now they are available and play for the Azkals. Next in line, I think, will be more important people for the Astros will be Neil Etheridge, the Fulham goalkeeper who is on loan. He will be the number one. I think he played a magnificent 2012 Challenge Cup, so he'll be I think he'll be the one who's going to be between the six. Um, Thomas Dooley has made his style, a free-flowing, possession-based style of play. In direct contrast to the uh, long ball and counter-attacking style of the previous coach. So it remains to be seen how much the new players can adapt quickly to his system, talking of Dooley's system. But so far, the previous results have shown that they're doing well. Although nil-nil scorelines against Malaysia may not really show that the work is being done, but based from the possession and chances being created, I think the Aztecs are on the rise. One of the main players of the Aztecs is Phil Husband, of course, the Golden Boot winner from 2012, the Challenge Cup. How fit is he? That is the question. He has missed some time off the last few weeks in the domestic league because of a niggling injury. So his presence will be key. And I think between him and Shraki, there are a lot of also local-based players who are really trying to prove their worth and showing that they belong. And Reichelt on the right side, I think, will get the nod. And also, Derry Lucena, Martin Schubel, all these guys flying their trade in Europe. Now they have this time with them there. Now the team is out in Bahrain. They're in the training camp, and after a few days they go to Maldives. I think the overall feeling is one of quiet optimism. I think we do have a good chance if that's what you want to hear.
Okay. So, but you got in probably in the tougher group, isn't that right, Brandon? Group B does seem a little bit tougher. Philippines, yeah. They're going to be grouped against Turkmenistan again. They were the reason why Philippines was in the third place game in 2012 and not in the final. They've also got Afghanistan, who are rapidly improving. They won the South Asian Football Federation Championship. And then you've got Laos. Let's start with Laos. Laos is a bit of a mystery. The only thing I really remember about Laos is that during World Cup qualifying, they had a 2-0 lead on China and then ended up losing, I think, 5 or 6-2 in that game. What do we know about Laos?
Laos actually didn't even qualify for the tournament, but due to the withdrawal of Brunei, they ended up sneaking in. So they have to feel a little bit fortunate to just even be there to begin with. Actually, the pots that determined the groups we felt were set up pretty fairly. Having Laos and Myanmar in pot 4, to us they're the two weakest teams, so that made sense. Group B does appear to be a little bit tougher, but Laos, anything other than a last place finish would probably be pretty surprising. They really haven't shown great form, but the one thing is they've actually never lost to the Philippines. They've met, I believe, 6 previous occasions and have never lost to the Philippines. So I wouldn't expect that trend to continue, but they based on historical results against their opponents, they have to be a little bit encouraged at least.
Okay, so looking across the group, you've got Turkmenistan, who I think quietly they're probably the favorites to win this. They were losing finalists in 2010 and losing finalists in 2012. The only reason they haven't gone to the Asian Cup Finals is due to Korea DPR's presence, and it's come down to very, very close games. A penalty shootout, I believe, in one of the previous editions prevented them from going through. So are they still the favorites? We don't know a lot about their preparation.
Yeah, that's another nation where information is very hard to come by. Their local league, the Yokari Liga, doesn't even have a website, so it's difficult to find out information about Turkmenistan. But they proved their worth in qualifying. It came down to the final match against the Philippines. They came up short, but the game was played away, so they have to be definitely considered one of the favorites. They have to be happy that Korean DPR is not in the tournament this year, having lost to the final to them in the previous two occasions. So of the 8 nations in the Challenge Cup, they've had the most success in the Challenge Cup. So they have to be definitely, feeling good about that. We think ultimately they'll end up advancing, but it certainly won't come easy.
Okay, and Ryan, any input on Turkmenistan? You guys did play them last year in qualifying. It was sort of a result that maybe was to be expected. Maybe there wasn't a lot to be going riding on that match just because of Brunei's withdrawal. Whole team's got an automatic 3 points due to that. And the Turkmen tend to be a little secretive. Do you think there was a bit of gamesmanship there, maybe playing a bland style and maybe hiding their cards for the final tournament?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I tried to research also on Turkmenistan. I came up with really nothing. But to add to what Brandon was saying, the Philippines played Turkmenistan last time around 2012. Actually led until the 79th minute, when the fatigue set in and Turkmenistan scored 2 goals, or else we would have been in the final. So I think it's going to be a tight match between the Philippines and Turkmenistan. The last time around in the qualifiers, Turkmenistan lost to the Philippines at home. We were playing in Manila, and it was a 1-0 game. I thought it was a game wherein Turkmenistan knew that if they drew or lost with a very small margin, they would qualify as the second best placed team. So I think they were playing a bit cautious, as you said, and but they are a very, very technically sound team. I think they are definitely one of the favorites to go to the semifinals.
And just one thing to add real quick, that since that match in qualifying, Turkmenistan has not played an official match. So the first match that they play in this tournament against Laos will be their first match since that match over a year ago.
Okay, so I mean that brings us then to the final team in our preview. We've got Afghanistan, the Cinderella story of this, I think, of this tournament. They were the Cinderella story last year when they managed to win the South Asian Football Federation Championship. They seem to be a rising power in their sub-region. Can they actually make waves and maybe surprise Philippines or Turkmenistan and punch their ticket to the semifinal, Brandon?
Absolutely. They're definitely one of the most dangerous teams in this tournament. They've clearly shown that they can not only reach the finals of a tournament, but also win. And, they're playing very well. The one thing that concerns me is the level of competition they've played. Has not been extraordinarily tough. They qualified against Laos, Mongolia, and Sri Lanka. It's not the most difficult group. They recently played a friendly away to Tajikistan and lost 2-1. They drew against Kyrgyzstan 0-0 in a recent friendly. The teams they played in the SAF Championship, they drew against Maldives. They didn't beat the Maldives. And again, they beat Sri Lanka and Bhutan, and ultimately beat India in the final. So the level of competition is a little bit questionable. That may hold them back because this tournament certainly has tougher teams. So we definitely think they're a good team, a dangerous team, but against this top and higher level of competition, will they be able to succeed? To me, that's the biggest question.
Okay, so I think this brings us to our prediction stage, and let's start with the host country. Shane, what do you think? Give me 4 semifinalists, a finals matchup, the winner, and let's say who's going to win the Golden Boot?
Well, being a Maldivian, I think it's going to be hard to say anyone except our captain, Al Yashbal. He's been on fire scoring for Maldives. He was the second highest goal scorer after Cristiano Ronaldo, as per the statistics for the national team and continental tournament. So he's been doing well, so I think he might be a good contender for the Golden Boot. As for the 4 finalists, it's a tough one, but I'd probably go with for Group A, it will be Maldives and Palestine. And then for Group B, I would say it will be Turkmenistan and the Philippines.
So that means you'll have a semifinal of Philippines against the Maldives and Turkmenistan against Palestine. Who you got in the final?
Tough one to say, but I'll definitely say with the home crowd, with the supporters behind the team, Maldives can be the surprising team. They can pull up a surprise and be in the final. And I would probably say it'll be Turkmenistan from Group B.
Okay, so you've got a final of Turkmenistan, Maldives. Who's going to Australia?
I think going to Australia it will be Turkmenistan. With the experience and the past head-to-head encounters, I think they might just have the edge.
Yeah, I think Ryan vehemently disagrees. Ryan, give us your take. Golden Boot winner, and give me 2 semifinalists and a finals matchup.
It's hard to be unbiased here. Come on. I'm going to be killed by my countrymen if I root for anyone else other than the Philippines. But in all, setting all bias aside, I think the Philippines and Turkmenistan on our group, I think, should be the favorites. On the other side, I'm not too sure. I think Palestine will be there. The other slot, Maldives. You know what? I'm not really familiar. It's a toss-up between Maldives and Kyrgyzstan, I think. How do you say it? I don't even know if I said it the right way.
Kyrgyzstan.
All right.
So you're saying you're looking at a matchup. Is it going to be Palestine against Turkmenistan then as the runner-up in Group B, and then Philippines facing off against Kyrgyzstan in the semifinals? What do you have as a finals matchup then?
Well, I think it should be well. Again, I'll be biased and say it will be the Philippines in the final. But the other side, it's difficult to say. I would suppose Palestine will be there. I think. Forgive me if I root for my country. I think we will have a good chance, but again, it depends on many factors. But I think we do have a good chance.
Okay. And Golden Boot winner. I looked at your squad recently. Angel Guirado is not there. The Young Husband brothers are. Are we going to see one of them banging the goals in Maldives?
You know what? Phil, again, it depends. Phil Young Husband, if he's fit, he will be one of the favorites. I think not just because of his goal-scoring prowess, but I think now because of the support he will get from his teammates. One thing I forgot to mention was that we were third place in 2012 with a lineup that was not really our strongest lineup because of the absence of many European-based players. It's not a case now. Now it's all of the European-based players are available, and here play in the Maldives to play in the Challenge Cup. So I think the level of the midfield and the defense now will be a factor in contributing. I think maybe to more goals from Phil Young Husband.
Okay, great. So that leaves us with 2 more predictions. I'll start from my end, and I think I'm going to continue a trend here because I don't see Palestine crashing out at the group stage. Even if things don't go as planned, I just think that they have too much talent. They've never lost a group stage game. Even if they have to eke things out, if things don't go to plan, they will be good enough to get through to the semifinal stage. And I do think, looking top-bottom, Kyrgyzstan is, I don't think, as strong as they were when we came up against them in qualifying for the 2010 tournament. They're going to be, and from what I've seen, they've usually have a hallmark of being solid defensively. But I haven't seen that in their recent matches, and I think that's going to be an issue. I think they can be exploited. The other teams, Myanmar, Maldives, I think it's a toss-up between those 3 as who's going to be the runners-up. I think Shane does bring up a good point. The Maldives are a different type of team, and I expect them to be a tougher opponent than the opponent we faced in the 2012 edition. So my picks are Palestine to go through as the group winner from Group A, Maldives as the runner-up. Then from Group B, I think Afghanistan is a bit of a sexy pick at this point, but I think the story ends. I think they'll continue developing. I think they'll get better, but it's going to be very, very tough for them, I think, coming up against teams with more experience. Philippines is a couple of years ahead of Afghanistan. I mean, they had the same type of story where they came from, not really being an established team, and they've recruited players from abroad and gotten better. So Philippines is a little further in development. Don't forget that they have, more resources to improve football at a local level and go out and to recruit all these European-based players. So I think the Philippines, even though preparation, new coach, not ideal, I think Philippines makes it through as the runner-up. I would say Turkmenistan, just based on that brand name, will win. I really do not have anything else to say about them or their style. I know that from when we played them in 2012, they were a tough opponent. So I think you're looking at Turkmenistan to ease into the finals after beating Maldives. I think Palestine against Philippines is a very, very interesting matchup. I think when they played in that third place match, Palestine was sleepwalking during the entire first half. They looked nothing like the team that didn't give up a goal for the first three matches and were so solid against Korea DPR. The second half, they sort of woke up and they made a bit of a rally, but they lost 4-3. It's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. But I do think the fact that Palestine have more experience under their coach, they know how to play together a little bit more, I think that gives them the edge. And then Palestine against Turkmenistan is a toss-up. But obviously I'll probably back Palestine to win this. Maybe a little bit more wishful thinking than an actual realistic prediction. As far as my Golden Boot winner, I think it's going to come from Group B. Laos is there. Their defense is horrible. So I would say either Ruslan Mizingov from Turkmenistan would have the inside track, or Phil Younghusband might do it for the second tournament in a row. And then I think just as far as if you look back in the winners, typically the winner comes from the easier group. And I think if Palestine can not make life too hard for themselves in Group A, then they might have the legs to carry on this tournament. So that's my justification for picking Palestine. But Phil Younghusband probably to win the Golden Boot. Brandon, we need an unbiased opinion. Please tell us who's going to win the AFC Challenge Cup and who's going to be the Golden Boot winner.
So I would love to give you an unbiased opinion, and Palestine, Afghanistan, and Turkmenistan, we have all back-to-back-to-back in our rankings, separated by virtually nothing. So it's definitely a toss-up. It's going to be a really good competitive tournament. In the group stage, in Group A, I think Palestine will end up topping the group. They seem to be a little bit better than the rest of the competition. Maldives is someone to look out for. As the host nation, the host nations always seem to do well in tournaments like these. They're going to have the fan support behind them. They're definitely going to be excited for this tournament. I think ultimately they'll fall a little bit behind Palestine. They may not lose against Palestine. They may draw, but I think ultimately they'll finish second behind Palestine in Group A. Kyrgyzstan's an interesting team to watch. They actually, unlike Afghanistan, they've played a very, very tough schedule. They play European opponents frequently, so they're used to playing against difficult competition. The results haven't been there, so it's tough to get a read on them whether they've benefited from playing these European opponents or not, because playing a strong opponent and losing 4-1 or 4-0 is not helpful. We think that the second place will ultimately come down to Maldives and Kyrgyzstan, but I'll pick Maldives. Group B, I think it'll be really, really difficult for Laos not to finish last in the group. I would be very surprised, but as far as the other three teams go, it's a total toss-up. It could be any of the three teams finishing top of the group, and it could be any of the three teams missing out on the second round. I don't want to disappoint Ryan, but I think the Philippines might end up finishing third in the group and missing out on the knockout stage. It'll be tough. I think there are going to be a lot more draws in that group than people expect. I don't think you're going to see teams, qualifying on 9 points, on 7 points even. I think the winner of the group may end up with 5 points. It's going to be a really close group. But I'm going to pick Afghanistan to finish top of the group and Turkmenistan to finish second in the group. So that would set up Turkmenistan against Palestine in the semifinals and Afghanistan against Maldives in the semifinals.
Okay, and so finals prediction?
From there, I think if that's how the matchups shake out, I would like Afghanistan to advance to the finals. If Maldives does finish second, they're going to come up, no matter who finishes first in Group B, they're going to come up against a really tough opponent. And seeing them progress to the finals over that opponent, I think, would be difficult. So I'm going to pick Afghanistan to advance to the finals, and then Palestine against Turkmenistan is a total toss-up. That could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised to see that go to penalty kicks. But I'm going to pick Turkmenistan to advance to the finals. They've been there before. It's going to be a really close matchup, but I think they may end up ahead. It's truly a toss-up. It could go either way. So that would set up a Turkmenistan-Afghanistan final, a rematch from the group stage. Again, could go either way. That's the exciting thing about this tournament, is that there are so many teams that are so close in quality. There aren't any teams that are head and shoulders above the rest. I'm going to pick Afghanistan. I know they've recently won the SAF championship, and I think that they coming off of that victory, they'll be more encouraged and have that killer instinct to take the championship.
Okay, all right. So there you have it, guys. Challenge Cup preview. Let's do it again soon. Maybe after the group stage has been played. I'm going to throw this video up on YouTube. It's going to have all our contact information. If anyone out there wants to get in contact with us, you can just maybe fire us a tweet or through one of our individual websites. You can also leave a comment. This video will be on YouTube, of course, so please comment. If you're from Turkmenistan or Kyrgyzstan, please tell us something about your team, because we are slightly confused, but a little bit afraid, too, at the same time.
Just one thing to add real quick. We Global Football's Twitter is @we_global.
Okay.
So if you want to connect with us.
All the information, either in an annotation or below the video. Please follow We Global Football, Ryan Phoenix, and MV Football Team on Twitter. I'll throw the annotation up on the screen now. And let us know. Tweet us, follow us. Let us know what you think of this tournament. It should be a fun time, and hopefully one of us is going to be happy at the end of the in 2 weeks' time. Hopefully one of our teams is going to be at the Asian Cup in Australia.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay, guys, thanks for joining. See you soon.
All right.
Thanks.